If you want financial freedom, time freedom, and want to leave a legacy for generations to come, you probably have heard real estate investing is the place to do that. How do you get started? What do you have to do? When's the right time? If you are looking for those answers, you've come to the right place. My name is Kyle Stanley, and this is Fearless Flipping. My mission is to help you learn this business and conquer real estate investing. Hey, welcome into this episode of Fearless Flipping. We've got an awesome one for you with Travis Chappell. If you don't know Travis, you need to figure out who Travis is. In fact, I was shocked that I had never heard of Travis when I first heard about him on Bigger Pockets. This guy has interviewed Grant Cardone, Ed Milet, John Maxwell, some of my favorites in life. And he's had the opportunity to be on Bigger Pockets, talk about how he's built up a real estate business that has been all through networking. That's right. He doesn't spend money on direct mail. He doesn't spend money on bandit signs. He does it all through networking. And he's going to help you build your network so that you can build your net worth. And that's really one of the reasons I wanted to get Travis on the show. Is that, when I first started in real estate investing, I had a full-time job. And with having a full-time job, that was really intimidating for me to look at having to be by the phone all the time and pick up, potential leads from sellers that want to sell their home to me. And so I needed to be able to network and to find people that were going to bring me deals. So this guy, Travis, by the way, he lived in Fresno, California, which for those of you who don't know, I live in Fresno. So when I heard that he lived in Fresno when he was on Bigger Pockets, I was like, I got to meet this guy. And that's what's great about Travis. I reached out to him, offered a little bit of value, and he was very responsive. Maybe he'll do the same for you. If you offer him some value, he's going to show you exactly how to do that. He's going to show you how you can meet him and myself in Las Vegas in November, and a few other ways that you can connect with him. So without further ado, let's take it away with Travis Chappell. All right, we got Travis Chappell here on Fearless Flipping, and I am excited because not only is Travis a former Fresnoite like myself, he is also one of the kings of networking, and he has intertwined real estate into that whole direction of networking that he's gone into. But love what Travis is doing here. I really appreciate you being on the show today, man.
Kyle, thanks so much for having me on, man. Really appreciate it.
What is your most interesting or maybe weirdest real estate investing story that you got?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say there's probably one that would go back to that's maybe a little bit less interesting and more of like a lesson that I learned in the process. And it was on a deal that we were working one time. And it came from this guy that was just a handyman that did work on a few of our projects and stuff like that. And we had basically just told some people that we were looking for deals, and so this guy ran into one of his customers who was basically telling him, I'm trying to sell my house. I know that I won't be able to get a lot of money for it because I need to fix it up and blah, 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 blah. And so he told us about it, and we went back and forth on the deal with the pricing a little bit, and then negotiated the kind of like a little bit of a finder's fee for him for bringing the deal to the table instead of doing equity partnership on the back end or whatever. It was just like a quick small deal up front.
Cool.
And when we did that, it turns out my partner, my dad, was talking to him later on, and we ended up making like a little bit more on that deal than we thought we were going to. And he made the mistake. I guess it was a mistake, and I guess not really a mistake, but at the time it was, of telling that guy how much money we were going to make on. And all of a sudden, he wanted more money, and he wanted more of the deal basically at that point. And so we just kind of, it was a big lesson learned where we were just like, okay, look, man, we like, there is value in bringing the deal to the table, but we already like worked out our agreement on that. Like we already agreed to pay you a certain amount, and you agreed to accept that. The fact that we ended up making more on the deal than we thought we were going to, like, has no effect or bearing on what we previously agreed to. You know what I mean? And it was just a big principle in fairness, in the fact that people will perceive something to be unfair, or they will be unhappy if they perceive something to be unfair, even if it is not unfair. And so it was just a lesson learned to make sure that we get that kind of stuff handled up front and have a for sure agreement on that. I think we ended up giving him a little bit more money, like split the difference between what he wanted and what we were going to give. And it was kind of an extenuating circumstance because we knew the guy for a really long time and different things like that. And wanted to make sure that we, maintain that relationship. But for me, it was just kind of like that was, like that's kind of a crappy thing to do. Like we already agreed on what we agreed on.
You can't really fault dad there because transparency is key, especially
right,
integrity. So that one, that's too bad. You hear about that every once in a while, and it's like, man, why do you feel like you have to take away from what I'm getting if you're getting what you want too?
Right. Exactly.
Now you're in Las Vegas, you're killing it with your podcast, and you got a lot of stuff going on. So, usually at this point, my fifth question is, how did you get into real estate? But I want to know more so, how did you get into what you're doing right now? Give the audience a little bit more information about everything that Travis Chappell is a part of, and how does real estate get intertwined into that?
Yeah. So, good question. What I was doing before this is I was a door-to-door salesperson. I just sold products door to door, and I recruited people, trained them, managed them, did all that kind of stuff in that industry. And the way that I got into podcasting was that I realized that I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. Like I'm always looking at least 5-10 years into the future and trying to see, am I setting myself up for who I want to be in 10 years from now today? Am I doing that right now? And I think that's a big thing that most people don't do. And so I try to put myself in 10 years from now, Travis's shoes, and look back on my past and go, like, what will have needed to happen in these past 10 years in order for me to be like happy about where I am? And I think it's important to put yourself in the future looking back instead of in the past looking forward. And so that's what I did. And I figured out that, like, you know what, I don't want to be door to door anymore. Like I don't want to be a salesman, a trainer, a manager, an owner. I don't want to be like anything in this industry. And it was a weird realization for me because like that was where all of my knowledge outside of how I grew up was in, right? So like I had a lot of knowledge in Bible and ministry and stuff, but I obviously didn't go that route. So door to door was the natural next step because I was already doing that like as a side hustle in college. So I just kept doing that and I was pretty good at it. But then when I realized I didn't want to do that, I was like, well, dang, now I'm not doing the ministry thing. I'm not doing the door to door thing. Like, what do I do next? And how do I learn something? And so I just kind of dove into personal development for a while, and for the first time ever really in my life, and started consuming content, in any sort of way possible, whether that was, YouTube videos or books, audiobooks, podcasts, whatever it was. For whatever reason, I picked podcasting as a consumer the most, just because like I didn't like how much attention I had to give to YouTube. I didn't like having to like sit down in front of my laptop and watch something. And I figured out that the content that was on YouTube was on podcasts as well. And I could just have it on and like walk around and do stuff and have it in my ears whenever. So podcasting was just the medium that I chose to listen to or chose to consume the most on. And then after a while of listening, I was just like, man, this seems like a lot of fun. What would this look like? And then I went to one of my favorite podcasters, John Lee Dumas. I went to his website, and he publishes all of his income reports, all public information since he started his show in like 2012. And I started looking at his income, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. How is this guy making like $2-3 million a year gross income? And when he makes what he makes gross, he'll make like 80% net. So like when he has a $2 million year, he makes like 1.6 net profit on that, which is like unheard of. Like it's unreal. Like you didn't even know that existed type stuff, and so that was like kind of the deciding factor for me. It was just like, well, I may as well just like jump in and try to figure it out. And so I jumped in, hired a coach. I actually ended up going to a mastermind down at John's house in Puerto Rico for a few days, and just kind of invested heavily into myself from the get-go, and got started with the show. And that was a couple of years ago.
Hey, Fearless Flipping community, we are taking a quick break from the podcast to talk about Airbnb. For those of you that don't know, I have built much of my residual income around Airbnb, despite a lot of other investors being really excited about long-term renters. I was not. I saw an opportunity with Airbnb to get to my goals faster, to get more cash flow, and to pay off my houses quicker too. So instead of being really happy like a lot of other investors are with $200 to $300 of cash flow every single month, I've turned my renters and rentals into over $1,000 on average of cash flow every single month. So if you want to learn more about Airbnb, my systems, where I pick my Airbnbs, how I communicate with guests. Maybe you've already got Airbnb as a business on the side right now, but you want to take it to the next level. I am absolutely here to help you. You can book a free consultation with me about Airbnb. Learn more by booking at fearlessflipping.com/consultation, and you get me for 30 minutes for free. That's right, 30 minutes absolutely free. And that's once again fearlessflipping.com/consultation, and I'm looking forward to helping you conquer Airbnb investing. Give people a little bit more of an overview about what the show is. I want you to, and again, if we can find a way to intertwine how you're developing and not developing, but investing in real estate on the side while you're doing this, I'd love to just kind of hear how that's working in your life too.
Yeah, so the show's called Build Your Network. It's all about networking, relationships, how to connect with people the right way, how to avoid the old ways of networking, like 1980s style networking, and move into like newer ways of networking and actually build good relationships with solid people. And the way that real estate kind of works into all of that is that real estate's always been my long-term plan, like my long-term wealth building strategy. I just believe in it very much, especially in long term. I just think that real estate's going to be the best thing that'll help create generational wealth, if that's something that you're interested in. And so that is like always being the thing that's been in the back of my mind. And so for me as a side hustle, it's more just like continuing to educate myself on the real estate side of things. That's why, like, for a generic like personal development show, especially about networking, I probably have more real estate people on than most people would have on their generic business shows, just because like it's something that very much interests me. And that was, I think, how we got connected. Kyle, was through Bigger Pockets.
Bigger Pockets, yeah.
And so getting to know those guys, Brandon and David over there at Bigger Pockets, and then them having me on their show, and getting really intertwined with a lot of real estate community. I've coached a lot of real estate people on podcasting. So it's very much just a part of almost my DNA, because I kind of grew up around real estate. My dad was a real estate agent since I was like 3 or 4 years old. So I was, walking properties on Saturdays and Sundays since I was in elementary school, you know what I mean? And so I think it was kind of in my DNA, and it's just something that I understand a little bit more. I don't know everything about it by any means, and I would not call myself a real estate expert, to be honest with you. I just know a lot of people who are, if that makes sense. And I just use their expertise, and I do what I do really well. And then I talk to them when I'm looking at, different deals and trying to figure out if it's a good decision or a bad decision. So it all kind of goes together, man.
Well, man, I think that's perfect what you just said there, because I think so many people don't get involved in real estate at all because they feel like they have to be the expert. They feel like they have to be the one with all the knowledge, and they don't look to other people for that knowledge or for that expertise. So to hear you say that is not only a breath of fresh air for me, I'm sure it is to a lot of the viewers and listeners that are wondering, how do I get started in this? So who have been some of those people that have been instrumental to helping you to get deals and have that, right-hand man or a few right-hand men that just kind of help walk you through everything?
Yeah, so my dad was one of them, especially in the area that he's been an agent in for the last, 20, 25 years. He's an expert in that area for sure. But then there's a couple other people. Just it'd be hard to mention like everybody that's had an impact on that. But a couple people, I have a buddy out in the Dallas area now after we got into that bad deal, and who like helped us make the best of a bad deal, made a couple referrals for like good property managers and contractors to fix some of the mistakes from the previous contracting company, different things like that. And then honestly, a lot of virtual mentors. Before I got to know Brandon from Bigger Pockets, like Bigger Pockets was a huge mentorship platform for me. And that's one of the coolest things about this day and age is like, you don't have to go try to get a bachelor's degree in real estate. Like, you can tune into Bigger Pockets. You could spend a full year at 8 hours a day consuming Bigger Pockets content and like be an expert in real estate. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much free, consistent, valuable content out there. So a lot of it is like unofficial mentorships, different things like that. I joined Cole Hatter's mastermind a couple of years ago because I wanted to get more into that. And there's been a couple people in that group, a friend of mine named Legacy, who's in that group. Another friend, Steve, that's in that group. Another couple of friends, Randy and another Steve, that own a real estate investing thing up in Canada. There's so many people that I've been influenced by, I guess you could say, in that space, and continue to learn from. And if I were looking at a deal right now, I would look to talk to some of those people and send it their way and see what they thought.
That's awesome. So the key thing there is that you just have networked your way to knowing a ton of people that can get you answers. And especially what I love is that, you're not using the excuse of, oh, I don't know someone like that, or I can't find someone like that, to prevent yourself from learning and going through it, because you're going to those virtual mentorships, like the podcasts, like the YouTube channels. And now you're doing that too. So, what do you think the power is of that in today's society, especially for someone that might have that fear right now, or that, mindset that, oh man, because I don't have local mentorship, or, oh man, because I'm in, Podunk, Iowa, there's no opportunity here, and I'm not confident enough to go, invest out of state. And they just start, they need to be able to go to those online, those virtual resources. Just talk about, especially in your journey, how powerful that's been for you.
Yeah, man, it's so hard to say without sounding like a jerk, but people just get in their own heads, and it's all about your belief system. If this is huge. If somebody has figured it out and done it, then you can. It's just a matter of how much you want it. Well, I don't live in a place where there's a lot of opportunity. I don't feel comfortable investing out of state. Okay, well, either get comfortable with investing out of state or move. Or you don't want it that bad. I just don't know what to say to that. You know what I mean? I want to do it all. I want to do it all, but I want to do it this way and this way. And it's okay, well, that's impossible. What you're saying is impossible. I live in an area that there's not a lot of opportunity, and I'm not confident in investing out of state. So, but I want to make money in real estate. Okay, so what you're telling me is you want to make money in real estate, but you can't do anything to invest in real estate. Well, it sounds like you're at a crossroads, my man. Either you got to move somewhere where there's more opportunity, or you need to get comfortable and get confident enough to be able to invest out of state. And the biggest thing is you have to be willing to risk it. You got to be willing to take that risk. We were not comfortable or confident investing out of state, and we invested out of state the first time and it bit us. We sucked. We messed up. But the bottom line is we still did it. And would we do it again? Yes, we would. People make the mistake, Kyle, of thinking that money is the ultimate asset, and it's not. Time is the ultimate asset. You can always make money back. Money is just energy. It comes and goes. It flows. It's always up and down. Your relationship with money is so important, because too many people hold on to it too much, and they have that closed fist. Well, guess what? If you have a closed fist and you're not willing to let go of your money, you also don't have an open hand to receive that money either. It's closed to giving, but it's also closed to receiving. And so if you learn how to open that up and be able to take that risk on something that maybe you're not completely comfortable or confident in, maybe you lose, maybe it does bite you in the ass the first time, but that's all part of the process. Learn from it, get back up and do it again. And try to maybe find some more people to help mitigate your losses a little bit, or learn from somebody else. There's just so many reasons to not do it. You just have to find the reasons to do it. And for some people, it just might not be a big enough reason. If you're listening to this right now and you're hey, that sounds like a lot of hard work, I don't know if I want to do that, then maybe it's not for you. It's not for everybody, or else everybody would do it. So maybe it's not for you. Maybe you should go look into, just putting your money into an index mutual fund and just letting it ride. Or maybe you should, look at a different industry. I don't know what to tell you on that. It's just look, if you're sitting there and you're hey, that sounds like a lot, and there's this excuse, it's the bottom line is you can always come up with a plethora of excuses to not attack what you want to do. The question you have to ask yourself is, how much do you want it? Yep. Because if you truly want it, then none of those excuses matter, and you'll find a way to make it happen.
I think a few people have said this. The one that I first heard it from was Tony Robbins, which is you get praised in public what you've practiced for years and years and years in private. Mm-hmm. And so it's really easy to look at even, someone like you. I know that you're a humble guy, and you don't really put yourself in the same hierarchy as like, these guys that even that you're interviewing, but dude, you're interviewing guys like Grant Cardone and Ed Milet and like all these people that, wow, like no wonder Travis is so successful because he's interviewing these people. So that's why he got there. Well, no, like you went through the struggles. I'm sure that the day that you opened up your podcast, you were not only dealing with, well, who am I going to interview, but for probably a couple of years, you were probably struggling. So, I mean, you want to just talk about those struggles and how you got through those. And even if there's anything real estate related, that's cool too.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, man, is how many obstacles are you willing to overcome? Like, is your will to win for sale? And this is not, since you brought up Ed Milet, that's something that he talks about a lot, and he talks about it really well. So you have to find something that you care about enough to make sure that your will to win is not for sale, that you're truly committed, because like there's a true freedom in commitment, which sounds backwards. Like it seems like commitment intrinsically is the lack of freedom, right? But in like real commitment, there's a real true freedom that comes along with that. Let me explain what I mean. If I'm committed to like for me, when I was committed to starting my podcast, I was committed, and it was one of the first things ever in my life that I ever 100% put all into and said, I will do this until it works, not I will do this if it works. I will continue to do this when it works. Like no, like I will do this until I have succeeded to the amount that I want to succeed. Like no questions asked. So when I was, month 11 in, and I was still less than 1,000 downloads an episode, and like still spinning my wheels and thought I was going to be so much further ahead than where I was. And this is after I had on Grant Cardone and Ed Milet and Kevin Arrington, a lot of the big names that I had on my show. This was after all those people came on, and I was still struggling to get good downloads. And I was just like, man, I thought I've done everything. I thought I checked all the boxes, right? Like I got the big names, I did the coaching, I did everything. Like I thought that I was supposed to be getting some really good traction at this point. I just wasn't. And around month 11, like month 10, month 11 of the show, because I was putting out 3 interviews a week at the time, and that's like not a small task to put out 3 interviews a week on the show consistently without ever missing. And so I was looking at that, and I was just like almost 150 episodes in. I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, this is not producing the results that I want to see. And anytime a thought of like, maybe I should quit came up, it was immediately expelled from my head, because I remembered my commitment to myself to do it until it worked. Like it just doesn't matter to me. Like none of that stuff matters. Was it discouraging? Was it frustrating? Yeah, sure. But like, did it mean that I was going to quit? No, like not a chance in hell, because I committed from the beginning to do it for as long as it took in order to make it successful. And when you have that level of commitment to something, then, there's no obstacles that are going to completely ever make you quit or give up. And like I went through some personal stuff while I was trying to get the show started, just like personal issues and problems in my personal life that I was dealing with. We went through like different financial struggles. We went through like a lot of different things that I could have easily used as excuses to not keep going, and to not keep producing at that level that I was producing at. But at the end of the day, like I knew that in the end was really, really important to me. And that if I didn't do it, it would be a huge regret for me later on. And I way more fear regret than I do a couple obstacles or some failure along the way. Like that's the big thing for me, is like getting to the point where you fear regret more than failure. That I think is what allows me to push through some of those obstacles and remain true to the commitment that I made from the very beginning. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. I love that you fear regret more than you fear failure. That's not something commonly heard, but it's so true. I mean, I think about it all the time. There's only a couple of regrets I have in my life, and those are the things that stick with me more than the failures, because when you fail, you're just one step closer to getting that yes, getting more, educated on that subject to be able to, get to that point of success. But when you regret something that you didn't do, there's no turning back. You can't do that again. So that is gold right there, man. So how has well, actually, really quick question around that month 10, month 11. I'm just curious what happened at that point that like made it break out. Was it anything in particular, or did you just wake up and see, oh my gosh, there's more downloads today?
Not really anything in particular. It was really more like month 14, 15 that I started seeing it pick up a lot more. And I think honestly, it was just due to the consistency and the fact that I wasn't giving up on it. And sooner or later, if you put out enough good quality, consistent content, people start to pick up on it and start to notice it and start to realize it and start to share it. And, it starts to make an impact. And then when you start changing people's lives, like, I know it sounds kind of cliche and stuff, but like when you start doing that, it's hard for your show not to gain traction.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Where people are like reaching out to you and saying like, hey, you said this one thing, I implemented it, and this happened in my life. And they get a real result from a piece of advice that you gave them completely for free. Like that's huge. And it it took me a year to get there, of 3 episodes a week and thousands of dollars invested into myself and my personal brand. But now looking back, like it's not something that I would change at all. It took me a full year to reach 100,000 downloads total. And then I think I doubled it in the following like 3 months after the first year. And now obviously a lot more than that, but yeah, back then it was a grind, man. It was a struggle for sure.
Wow. Well, the struggle is what makes it worth it, right?
Yes.
So you talked about the first time in your life, this was I will do this, I will make this successful. It sounds like, just from what you talked about earlier, that real estate is kind of that same thing for you, that I will be successful at this for the future. This is my, exit strategy, or this is my next thing. What makes you so, especially someone as successful as you are right now, that is killing it with the podcast, and, that's passive in a lot of ways too. So why also look at real estate as that end goal for you?
Because podcasting isn't truly passive, right? Like recurring income is different than passive income. And real estate provides truly passive income, especially if you have property managers and stuff like that, where like you literally don't touch it, it pays you money, and it's a real thing. I just like it because it's real. Like I can go there, I can touch it, I can feel it, I can improve it, I can make it worth more than it is by spending money on it. Like you can't really do that with stocks and bonds and all that kind of stuff. You just have to trust that the people running the companies are going to do a good job for the people who have shares in their company. And, time and time again, proven that they can't be trusted with that kind of stuff. So like the only way to make good money over there is if you've been like studying it for years and years and years and years. And like, that's not a life that I covet, you know what I mean? In terms of like constantly studying the markets and knowing which companies are going to be doing well and not doing well. And just not something that I want to do. Whereas real estate is, I think, a lot more simple than that. You obviously got to know what you're doing, and I'm not trying to underestimate or downplay how much knowledge you need to have about the real estate markets as well. But I just think long term, like I don't know if Facebook, like I think Facebook's going to be around in 20 years from now, but I don't know, but I'm for sure that people are going to have to live somewhere. Like that's for sure going to happen. Like people, you got to go live somewhere, whether you buy the house or you rent the house or the apartment or the condo or whatever it is. Like you got to live somewhere. You don't just live on the streets. So that tells me that there's at least some sort of safety in investing in properties, because it's something that will always be there and will always be needed. And a lot of these other things, they're just we don't know 100% for sure. There's a lot of experts that say that they will be, like stuff like Bitcoin and stuff like, oh, it'll be, it'll be the new standard in 5 decades. But like, we don't know that. We don't know that. It's an unsure investment. Is there a good chance? Yeah, probably. Like it seems like a pretty good technology and seems like a good solution to a lot of the problems that the current financial industry has. But like it's still a shot in the dark. It's still something that we don't know about for sure. Whereas real estate, I just feel like is like I said from the beginning, it's just a for sure thing. If you like they say, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. And it's kind of this like, you buy real estate in an up cycle. Okay. Like I said, 20 years from now, it'll still be worth more money than it was, when you bought it. And I just think that generational wealth comes from real estate. Real, true passive income comes from real estate. And I like that I can like touch it, feel it. I can fix it. I can improve it. I can immediately increase my equity position in something by improving it, by putting a little bit of dollars into it. Like there's just a lot of things, man. There's a lot of reasons to be in real estate.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that last part, because when people hear that I'm in real estate investing, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm waiting for the market to crash for me to buy a property." And I'm like, okay, but why not now? And they're like, well, I'm not in it for the long game like you are. I'm going to buy like one or two properties. So I want to make sure I get a good deal. And I'm like, what if the market doesn't crash for another 5 or 6 years? Or what if the market doesn't do what it did in 2008 and that's what you were waiting for the whole time? And now you're 6 or 7 years behind. Like, what are you waiting for? So
Plus, what are you going to do at that point? You don't
yeah,
have any of that knowledge built up. Like
exactly.
it's more difficult to lose when the market's like that far down. Obviously when you're buying properties for 50, $60,000, it's pretty difficult to lose money on it. But I mean, you still don't know what you're doing. Like, are you going to go try to get an education at that point, or what's going to happen? What's going to happen is going to be different.
Exactly. Love it. Okay. Well, I think we could talk about this stuff all day long, but we are running out of time. And I want to definitely make sure to let people know where they can go visit you. We already talked about the Build Your Network podcast. The Build Your Network podcast can be found on Apple, iTunes, and on Google, and just about anywhere you can get podcasts. But what else do you have going on there, Travis?
Yeah, you can definitely find the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, and we're on YouTube now, so you can go check us out on YouTube. And YouTube, just search Travis Chappell. It's just under my personal name all over on YouTube. Yeah, I have a masterclass now that's coming out every Thursday. Every Thursday, I'm going to be live at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and we're going to be going over the 3 best kept secrets to building the network of your dreams. And so that'll be going on every Thursday at 6 p.m. You can go to 3networkingsecrets.com, 3networkingsecrets.com, and you can get registered for that live masterclass.
And that number 3 is spelled out, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So 3networkingsecrets.com. And you still have the Meet Your Hero course?
Yes. Yep. Totally free. Yep. A lot of the stuff that I do is free, man. It's just free resources, free trainings, free. The podcast is free. This masterclass is free. That Meet Your Hero course is free. It's all free. Just trying to help out. And so if you can head over there and something ends up, doing something, I just like to get paid by hearing your testimony. So if that's something that I say helps you out, feel free to reach out and connect with me and let me know.
That's awesome. Well, and that's actually one of my favorite courses that you have, because it's been successful for me for sure. So where can people find the Meet Your Hero course at?
Yeah, meetyourherocourse.com.
There we go. Easy enough.
Easy.
Okay, Travis. Well, any imparting or departing words for our listeners for anything at all that we talked about today? I thought there was so much value, but any last piece of advice?
I could probably close with the best piece of advice I've ever gotten, which is Steve Martin quote that says, "Be so good they can't ignore you." So, in anything that you're doing, whether real estate's a saturated market, podcasting is saturated, YouTube is saturated, a lot of things are saturated. But if you're just that good, then people can't ignore you. So, focus on your craft, focus on becoming a better version of yourself, and just become so good that people can't ignore you anymore.
Be so good, people can't ignore you, and one day they will be conquering real estate investing. Thank you so much, Travis.
Appreciate it, Kyle. Thanks for having me on.
That was amazing knowledge on how to build your network so you can build your net worth. And now moving forward, I hope you will take advantage of those resources that Travis gave you an opportunity to connect with us on. Especially, he didn't really talk about it, but he's got an amazing event coming up in November in Las Vegas at Top Golf. I'm going to be there. I want to bring a whole bus full of Fearless Flipping community members. So I want you to be there. And this is going to be all about networking with people. It's not about sitting down, taking notes, and hearing life-changing things from people up on stage. This is about having fun, networking with people, and really getting down to the nitty-gritty of who can help who is going to be there that you can help, and vice versa. So I'm going to be there. It's super affordable. I hope you will be there too. You can check all of this out at fearlessflipping.com/Travis Chappell, TRAVIS for Travis, Chappell, CHAPPELL. Again, fearlessflipping.com/Travis. Go out, build your network so that you too can conquer real estate investing.